If you have to do ABA for your child, but are afraid of what autistic adults have said about the trauma it causes, here is a guide to ensure that your ABA therapists are not using harmful tactics. Here is what you should avoid. Don't allow planned ignoring. Actually, don't allow any ignoring at all. No hand-over-hand prompting. Don't stop or reduce stimming. And finally, rewards for food or touch can be harmful. So, now we get to those things we actually need to make sure happen in ABA sessions. These are not in any specific order. First, sessions should be visually accessible to the parent or caregiver. Next, decide if you need focused or comprehensive ABA. And for autonomy, your loved one's no needs to always mean no. Finally, you should know about the physical disability part of autism, and make sure therapists and staff understand it as well. You are probably here as because you have heard all of the claims about applied behavior analysis therapy, or ABA. Hardly anyone you may hear has an ambivalent position on it. Either they hate ABA with a passion or they love it and says it really helped their child. And that's exactly why you are looking for answers. You might have heard from ABA survivors and autistic adults that it was traumatizing. That ABA had long-term effects on their psyche that have caused constant emotional and mental damage. Well, my part in this as an autistic adult and parent to autistic children is to be honest about the possible harms ABA can cause. I was in ABA all throughout elementary school for social skills. That kind of ABA was focused and only a few hours per week. I will discuss focused ABA later. My goal is to teach families that if they feel they must choose ABA, how to reduce or avoid those long-lasting mental health issues down the line. I want to make it clear that I know some of you have no choice in the matter. You have to do ABA. And, I am not judging because as a parent in this system, particularly in the United States, I know exactly what it means to be forced one way or another with zero other resources. I want to empower you so that if you are going to use ABA, that you are aware of certain ABA tactics that are traumatizing and why. Here are many of the main concerns autistic adults and ABA survivors have said about it. Planned ignoring can be done properly where nobody, including the parent watching or the kid, even notices.
Hey.
The problem is too many ABA therapists use ignoring in a traumatizing way. Done wrong, it teaches kids who already have difficulties expressing themselves to not express themselves, to override their instinct to communicate. It also teaches that their needs aren't important. So on to physical prompts. Even if your loved one has motor initiation difficulties, do not allow hand-over-hand prompting. This teaches a child that autonomy doesn't have to be respected. It teaches subconsciously that people can place their hands on the child, especially adults. And that runs a greater risk of making them vulnerable to predators. Before anyone touches your child, they need to ask and get permission from them as much as possible. Some therapists are still stopping stims and/or reducing them as a goal. Anyone who works with autistic people and doesn't understand how important stimming can be for communication, shouldn't be working with autistic people, to be honest. Stimming is necessary for communication, mood regulation, entertainment, learning, waking up a lackadaisical brain or calming an impulsive, sparkling, and sizzling brain. Stims are hugely important and mostly intuitive functions of all humans, but even more with autistic bodies. There's a real instinctive thing our bodies do, based on internal and external factors. It's like scratching is to cats, which is something we know is natural. Say no to food, candy, and favorite items being used for rewards, punishments, or corrections. Food is already a super tough subject for autistic brains to deal with. For most of my life, I thought food was a horrible chore. It would have been better if humans developed a way to get energy from the environment instead of being forced to eat. But since there is no way just yet, and nutrition absolutely impacts our feelings, moods, and health, that means we have to work with the autistic brain. Rewards or punishments that use food teach us to override that instinct of listening to our food brain. It's a very specific portion of the brain that speaks directly to the stomach. Sometimes, this brain wants the same food, or the only food it can stomach on repeat. It's like the strongest craving ever, but for the same thing. Other times, it allows for more adventure. But even the autistic person doesn't know what they will get as far as ability to go outside the same food option. Having rewards or punishments based on edible treats has pushed me past my food brain's limits and can create anxiety around food, which can cause a person to want to try less foods over time. Or it can go the other way, where overriding the brain's natural motivation to eat is the result. Food becomes a reward and it feels good to be rewarded, right? Well, that reward for candy or food can lead to overindulging and always trying to reward oneself with candy or food, leading to inability to stop and possibly, dental problems. Your loved one's no should always mean no, and all of their communication should be acknowledged and respected. A lot of ABA therapy is data and finding the function of a behavior. I gotta be honest, I hate this. The data and interpretation of a behavior is from outside the person. No one person, even a parent, can understand the motivation and function of every behavior of their loved one. At some point, it has to be guessing. This is why I hate discrete trial training or DTT. We will learn about apraxia and dyspraxia next, but it is a movement disorder that can also mean the autistic person has no function to what they say or do. Their body could just be taking over. So, imagine data being taken on something you didn't even mean to do. Imagine your body keeps doing the opposite of what you want. Then, there's more data being taken, on either a misinterpreted function or on no function whatsoever. Can you see how frustrating this is for a kid? What if they are being taught things they already know over and over, simply because they couldn't get their body to show that they have mastered something in mind? Knowing all of this, imagine your student wants to stop that cycle. Beyond that, there are many reasons your student will want to stop or say no in their ABA session. Maybe they are in some pain they can't communicate. Maybe they are just not feeling the activity or don't think it is important for them to learn, because they are tired of being misunderstood. Whatever the reason, I know some ABA practitioners have historically not listened to a client saying no or trying to stop an activity. They say the function is to escape. But a lot of times, it doesn't go deeper than that. Most of the time, no one can know what's going on. And because of that, no always has to be respected. I already talked about teaching autonomy or teaching lack of autonomy. If a person is taught to override their own will repeatedly in ABA, that's like teeing them up on a platter for a predator. It would be so easy to take advantage or assault a person who has never been taught to say no or that their no is important, and people will listen and believe them. A kid who's therapy for 40 hours per week, all throughout their formative years, will absolutely lose that ability very early on. It will take a long time to gain or get back. Focused ABA may be better than comprehensive for your family. Please don't let any therapy take over family life, especially family time and fun. Bonding with family, playing, and having fun are therapeutic in and of themselves. You may be told 30+ hours are necessary to success. That's not true, and there is such a thing as therapy burnout, for the children but also for the families and caregivers running around trying to have a life outside of their child's therapy hours and commute. Family, friends, medical professionals and anyone else who you never asked for their opinions will try to make you feel neglectful or a bad parent. It is, however, sensible to use it for extremely dangerous behaviors like eloping or eating choking hazards or poison items impulsively. Focused ABA is created for specific issues or problems wanting to be solved. It's usually part-time. Comprehensive ABA is a general program and usually full-time hours. You will have to check with your specific insurance to see what's covered. I think focused ABA that helps with a life-threatening or life-altering problem should be one thing to consider when you need emergent help and it's covered by insurance. I know we all need help at times and can't afford it otherwise. So decide what issues you feel your child and family need help with. Sometimes, these issues can be helped with just a few ABA hours and you won't have to deal with figuring out how to do all those hours if they aren't accessible to your family or you don't need them. Just remember that every family's situation is different when it comes to insurance and unlimited possible other factors. So do what's best for your family. This is education for those that aren't aware of this possibility. You as a parent of an autistic person, should be familiar about how the physical disability affects your loved one. It's very hard to understand autism without this knowledge. Just as important as caregivers understanding it, it's extremely important therapists know apraxia and dyspraxia well. The problem is that 90% of ABA therapists do not understand it. This can lead to traumatizing ABA sessions. If your therapists aren't aware, I have included links in the description that will explain all of that. So, make sure your therapists and educators for any reason are aware of the movement disorder in 80 to 85% of all autistic people. Make sure you realize how vital the role that motor disinhibition, dyspraxia, and the brain-body disconnection have on behavior, and ensure that your BCBA and behavior techs know in depth as well.
Consider this when you or a professional says that a person doesn't seem interested in something or isn't grasping it. Maybe their body won't let them show interest, or that they have already learned it.
Here is an excerpt from the link provided in the description. This is a quote from Not an Autism Mom's collaboration with Communication for Education about presuming competence and dyspraxia. Apraxia makes it hard for people to tell their bodies what to do. This is sometimes called the brain-body disconnect. A person may want to do one thing, and the body does something else. We often mislabel these movements as intentional behaviors, when they are actually rooted in a person's central nervous system.
Consider this when you or a professional says that a person doesn't seem interested in something or isn't grasping it. Maybe their body won't let them show interest, or that they have already learned it.
Autistic ABA survivors and even autistic ABA therapists are the experts on ABA and its potential to help or to harm. Not non-autistic professionals, not parents, nor autistic adults who haven't even been in ABA. If you are one of the experts I just mentioned, please comment your feelings about ABA and any experiences you have had that will help families. That's help in all capital letters. Please don't judge families who are forced into ABA, and instead judge the system that has taken away choices from families and societal ableism that made ABA popular and seemingly necessary for autism. I will probably make a part 2 to this video, because in no way did I list everything wrong with ABA, just what is most egregious. Also, let me know if a PDF guide will be helpful. In that guide, I will go over the information I discussed in this video, as well as what will be in the potential part 2.